Hey everybody, good morning. It's Carpo. I was just thinking about something. I was thinking about how mysticism in modern day society is such a pain in the ass. um, how it must have been so nice at one time to be able to gather your thoughts, calmly walk down to the river in the morning, and do a little meditation, come back, tend to your fields. The simple living, simple life. I know that society has struggled to get past the simple life, and the materialist life has taken over. And, in my early days of learning about people and reading about cultures and societies, which I've done a lot of, um, because it really really resonates with our current society, other societies that have collapsed. It really brings forth if you don't know the past, you won't know the future. Um, I used to kind of disagree with that. I think, no, we can make our own future. We're not doomed to repeat the past. But now that I understand archetypes and human behavior a little better, we are doomed to repeat the past. Unless there's some major shift in consciousness, as people speak of, and that's where this New Age movement comes from, is people hoping, basically out of desperation, hoping that there will be a massive shift in consciousness in order to propel us into a new way of thinking and a happier way of life. The reason why people, I think, have attached and latched onto this idea so much is because it really is the only way out of our predicament. Unless mankind changes his mind, then we're never going to change our environment. And we're smart enough to know that it's not something that's going to happen in one generation. And it's not something that we can wait around for 5 or 6 generations to happen. And so that's the predicament. We're in a situation where we need change right now. We need our kids to be changed right now. Every single parent in my age group that's raising kids needs to teach their kids about value. Value of being, value of consciousness, value of seeking, and most of all, value of themselves. Because when a person values themselves, then they're able to continue their way of thinking and not be affected as much by others. Modern day mystics have a tough time trying to kind of explain where they're coming from, but a true mystic doesn't need to. Mysticism doesn't rely on proving anything. Mysticism is based on a truth within oneself. A truly mystical attitude cannot be compromised by someone else's comment about what you may or may not believe. That's easily laughed off as someone else's problem. However, it seems like the loudest voices tend to have either the least to say, or tend to have the most to convince themselves of. Thereby convincing others, they're convincing themselves. I like to just talk about the issues, but I don't really have anything I need to convince myself of, except for that humans need to have more value. Humans need to understand what it means to be a caring individual, I guess, but most of all, to realize that this is where some of these root feelings come from, these thoughts that our society has, is the understanding, the deeper understanding in the psyche that we need to change right now. And I'm very fortunate and grateful to grow up in the time I did. I remember when I was younger, and I wish I'd grown up in the 60s, when I felt like I would have been more accepted by the groups of people. When I was a teenager, I remember crying once because I wasn't born in the 60s, because I was thinking, man, I would have had so much more fun. The psychedelics were in, everybody was smoking pot. I would have never been born in a different time now. I was born in 75, and I was able to see the transference of people's attitudes and the computer age as it started to dominate, and really take a perspective from both worlds and try to lay it out and say, well, this is interesting. It's the interesting times. Living in interesting times is not always the most fun thing, but we have to embrace it and do what we can. So I'll cut this short before it gets too long, like all the rest of mine do. Peace and love.